Thursday, November the 9th, 2017 to you. Sometimes big news mean nothing. Sometimes small news end up meaning a lot. This letter will be about a piece which may fall into the latter category. Only time knows it for sure. On Saturday, the October the 28th, the Cuban Foreign Minister, Mr. Bruno Rodriguez, announced that Cuba would make it easier for its US-based citizens to travel to the island. As of January the 1st, 2018, those born in Cuba but living abroad will no longer need a qualification, habilitación, stamp in their passports before they can travel to their home country. While he was attending a meeting of pro-Havana Cuban Americans in Washington, Mr. Rodriguez said the US government closes and Cuba opens. It is worth to remember how deeply classical castrismo used to despise those who had fled the island. Pro-revolution supporters called them worms and parasites. How is it, then, that Havana seems to have changed its mind? Why is Cuba changing its stance from the "we don't want them, we do not need them" speech given by Fidel Castro in 1980 to this opening? Personally, I have got the hunch that Cuba is moving towards something new. Before anything else, it is pretty obvious that President Trump has no affinity with the Cuban regime. Yesterday, the US administration published a series of measures increasing limits on Americans' dealings with Cuba, which include a blacklist of state-owned companies and entities. But also Cuba is passing through politically interesting times. First, if President Mr. Raul Castro honors his word, there will be an accession of a new leadership next year. We must remember that Mr. Castro himself, emulating the Chinese model perhaps, limited his tenure to 10 years. Secondly, Venezuela's imminent default is putting Cuba in a vulnerable economic position. In short, Cuba may have to forgo the Venezuelan assistance. By the way, maybe Caracas is expecting Cuba to give it a hand on negotiating with its debtors, but Cuba itself has been restructuring its own debt, so in diplomatical terms, Havana has little power to help its revolutionary partners on that issue. One way or another, Cuba is in need of its children in the US. What Cuba would eventual returnees find? It remains to be seen. I ignore whether a change is on its way, but evidence suggests that they need them, if I may paraphrase Mr. Fidel Castro, and they want them. What for? The world is still on.